We'll call the meeting to order here. We will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Heidi, can you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Nolan. So this was
First, the minutes? Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, thanks. All right, so we have approval of minutes. The modification between the two agendas we got was the correct minutes attached or whatever. So with the correct minutes attached and what we have in front of us, can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from our last board meeting?
So moved.
Thanks, Ursula. Second, thanks, Will. Any discussion or comment? Hearing none.
I have a question.
Yes.
Edison, you're a senior, right? Yes. So I think she was identified as a sophomore in the minutes. So we just want to correct that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's correct that. So let's hear it. As far as making that correction, do we need to postpone or we can approve as amended? Okay. So is that a motion to approve as amended?
Yes, I move that we approve as amended.
Thank you, Ursula.
I'll second that one.
Thank you again, Will. All right. With that in place, any further discussion, comments, questions? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? All right, it passes. Moving on, recognition and reports. We have some student reports.
Nolan Campbell.
Nolan, hey, welcome. How are you? You came in just in the nick of time.
Sorry, that's a little long, so.
That's all right. We want to hear all about it. So go ahead, Nolan. Looking forward to hearing about it.
Am I live now? Okay.
What?
Yeah, it was good. We just came off of our first win against Billings Senior this past Friday. First win in about 2 years. So, yeah. Thank you guys. But yeah, it was a really good win. I mean, waves of support obviously coming from the community members, and just overwhelming support. And yeah, apologies again for being late.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. What else is just keep updating.
Yeah, just we'd
Yeah.
love to hear what's going on at Flathead High School. So
Currently in Flathead High School, at the beginning of the year, we had this Splashing the School Year event that was put on by our student council, our student body. President Elijah Williams was in charge of that. It was a really fun event where it's mostly just trying to build the school spirit before the year began and just inviting younger classmen and just all years to really just come in and have a bond and have them have a trust inside of the student body. So we can, when we say we want to do things, we'd have empowerment from the students, not just from the board leaders or principals or stuff like that. The other one was Senior Sunrise. That was a fun event for our seniors. It's a FHS, well, I guess it's a year-round event where seniors just come together for the last year of school. And at that Senior Sunrise particularly, we cooked breakfast, which is consisted of eggs, bacon, and pancakes. Really just building that a community within the seniors. And then lastly, we just had a freshman day for the incoming freshmen that are coming to FHS, where we just bring them into the school a couple days early so they can just get used to how the bell works and where their classes are. And our mentoring program stepped in and they really helped them just build connections with other freshmen and build connections with upperclassmen so they feel comfortable if they had questions about the school at all. That wouldn't just have to come from admin. It could also come from us upperclassmen.
great.
Yep. That's about it.
All right. Any questions for Nolan? Rebecca?
So the splash into school and the senior breakfast, are those senior sunrise, excuse me, are those new traditions or have those been happening for years and years?
The one that's been happening for years and years is the Senior Sunrise. I'm not sure how it's been years prior. This is my first year on student council, but I know it's been a tradition for a long, long time. However, the Splash in the School Year event was a new idea just to really build the trust in with the student body class, and then the actual FHS students.
And you thought it was worked well and well attended?
It was very well attended, I believe.
Go ahead, Ursula.
When is homecoming, and are there any plans for that?
Yes. So our student body, let me specify. Our homecoming is next Saturday, and the student class officers just decide on the theme is going to be like a jungle theme, where we're just going to hang vines. It's going to be a very jungle themed homecoming.
Any other questions for me? I have one on your Brave Mentoring program. Have you guys got that going? How many mentors do you have? How's it going?
I couldn't be specific on how many numbers exactly we have in the Brave Mentoring program, but we did have actually our first lesson today where we set aside the whole first period, and we went into all the classrooms and we gave we really just came out with a lesson plan on school spirit, and we all dressed up in specific student section themes. Like my class, for example, was USA, and so we all had crazy face paint on. We all dressed up, USA. I have an eagle on my shirt. It's just, we try to have fun and show them school spirit is a fun thing to do.
The student section is impressive. So, and you got a big game here Friday versus Hellgate, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow, how are we looking?
Really good, really confident, especially coming off our win.
Good. All right. Yeah, we'll be chock full of gummy candy and Gatorade sitting in the stands cheering you guys on. So.
Awesome. We're looking for it.
And Thursday crosstown flag football, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. All right. Good.
I have one more quick question.
Yep. Oh,
one
go
more
for
quick
it,
question. I'm just new, so could you tell your first and last name and your role in student council?
Yeah. My name is Nolan Campbell, and I'm the senior class president. Do you want to know what I do? Exactly?
You could. That'd be all right.
Okay. My job is obviously coming and speaking to everyone here, and then I know that I'm also in charge of some of the homecoming stuff, and I can help just really plan all of school events, kind of like assemblies and such. Yeah.
And Trustee Eklund, of note, Nolan is a proud alumni of your Lakeside School District.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nolan. Appreciate you being here. All right. And do we have a representative from Glacier High here? Yes. Hey, yep, come on over. You can join Nolan. All right. Great. Go ahead and state your name and tell us what you guys are up to at Glacier.
Great. So I'm Mary Grace Kanufke. I'm the student body president at Glacier High School, where I'm able to work with Abby Snipes for her first year as activities director, and it's going really well. So far, we have done our senior sunrise, and I didn't attend it. I had morning practice, but there was good participation, and I believe a lot of people who went that I knew enjoyed it and were able to bond before the school year kicked off. We also had really good participation and communication from our freshmen on our freshman day, which was August 27th, and I was able to be a mentor for that. And it was really cool to see how much school spirit they already had, and it was a lot easier this year. I just felt like there was a lot more participation from the freshman class, and it was really good to see. And then I was also able to speak at that assembly later on in the day and tell them more about how amazing Glacier High School is and what amazing opportunities we have to offer. Right now, our homecoming is September 20th, so it's coming up really soon. And we've worked really hard on finding themes for that. And I was on a trip competing in Miss America's teen the last week, so I missed a few meetings and a few updates, but I do believe that we're doing good on themes and that we have gotten a lot of participation from clubs as well. I was able to initiate our club fair at our jamboree. And I know, being a part of a lot of clubs and being in Gecko Club, that I saw a lot of people join the Remind app, and that's something that we haven't seen in past years. So I know that the club fair was a really good help to participation. And So yeah, we're trying to get the clubs involved in helping with themes throughout homecoming week.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Any questions for Mary Grace? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. So go ahead, Rebecca.
Glacier has been in a different situation than Flathead about homecoming parades over the last couple of years. There have been different solutions and things have happened. Is there a plan for this year, or is it nothing's happened? Yeah. Can you tell me anything going on?
I believe it has been talked about, but because we're in kind of a harder spot, not on like Main Street or anything, it has been hard to decide where it would occur and how everything would work out because we're just not used to that yet, but we really do want to make it happen.
Any other questions? Go ahead, Ursula.
Since we're just meeting you as well, what activity were you said you missed a meeting for practice. What are you involved in?
So I am involved in cheer in the school, and then I'm also involved in ballet and Gecko Club and speech and debate and Wolfpack Club and student council and Interact Club. So there's a lot of clubs, and then I am Miss Montana's teen as well.
Well, you could have been doing anything during the day. You're very busy. So just follow up. What's Gecko Club?
Gecko Club is the Glacier Environmental Conservation Organization, so you can see why we shortened it. It is really good to be able to help our environment, especially being in Montana. It's very important to us that we keep our nature sustained, and so we will do campus cleanups and get other sports like the football team or the track team involved to keep the campus a nice, clean place. And we also have a lot of other activities like hiking throughout the year or ice skating, just things to keep us happy in our environment. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mary Grace? Well, congratulations on Miss Montana Teen. I saw the article and I thought it was you, but I didn't quite. You said your name really fast, and so I'm like, I think it is her. So,
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for your presentation. We appreciate it. Alrighty, great. Do we have a canvas? Student?
No,
No,
not
no
tonight.
canvas. Okay, so with that, and you guys are welcome to stick around, or you guys can leave. You can do whatever you like. So next, we're going to move on to public comment. And at this time, the board provides the opportunity for public comment on matters that are not on the main agenda, and members of the audience are encouraged to briefly address the trustees on an issue that is not on the agenda. The chair of the board will seek comments from the audience on significant items as they may occur. Public comment does not include any pending legal matters, private personnel issues, or private student issues. And on that specific issue, to the extent there's concerns with a specific program or a specific employee or individual, we can't name the program or the employee or the individual. That would violate our policies for a formal complaint process. So I just say that so we all are on the same page on that. And we can't address private student issues. Please do not attempt to address these issues. Otherwise, we'll have to rule you out of order. But please note that you are given 3 minutes for public comment. I understand there's quite a few folks here today to offer public comment on an issue that I understand now has a formal complaint process started. So again, mindful of not wanting to engage in any employment matters without that process having gone through. By all means, we can stand up and acknowledge your presence and that you are all here today, and your name and your age or your location or where you live. And I believe there might be, I spoke with Stephanie about maybe some context for the public comment. So with that, and long digression, I apologize, but thank you all for being here, and we'll go ahead and kick it off with public comment. And so if Steph, if you can go hit the microphone over there, and there's a button that you'll press and it'll go red. Okay, and then go ahead.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Meek, and I have been a coach in this valley for more than 20 years. I am here as a concerned parent, and we are raising awareness about a storied program that has had issues, and we are in the process of finally going through the complaints and doing what needs to be done. But we have a really large group of parents and former parents and current students as well that would like their names to be heard, and we would just like our presence acknowledged in our full support of this issue. I believe that's probably all I can say right now. So if anybody else, you guys want to come up and say.
Great. So folks can come up and you can say your name on the record, and again, just make sure we don't say programs or employees, but if you want to say your name, we appreciate y'all being here and we want to acknowledge your presence here. So go ahead.
All right. My name is Holly Odell. I have a daughter who is a senior at Flathead High School, and Emmy Odell, who plays in this program.
Great, thank you.
My name, excuse me. My name is Corey Odell, and married to Holly, and Emmy Odell is my daughter.
Thank you.
Hello, and thanks for having us. My name is Jake Bain, and Anna Bain is my daughter, and this is my wife. Hi.
And they're from Lakeside.
We're from Lakeside, sorry. Yes.
Great, thank you.
My name is Addison Smith. I'm not a part of the program anymore for reasons pertaining to this matter.
My name is Kelly Smith from Lakeside. I'm Addison's mom, and we're here pertaining to this matter.
Great, good to see you again. Thank you.
My name is Emmy Odell, and I'm a senior in this program at Flathead High.
Thank you again. My name is Tanner Smith. I reside at 223 Clothier Lane in Lakeside. I spoke to the board on August 26th. Member Fallon wasn't here, and I believe there are some other faces that I don't see. I'm glad a formal complaint has been filed. Thank you, board members, Madam Chair, for giving the parents their time to shine, because this is an issue. We're all aware of it. So I'm glad that the process is moving along expeditiously. These kids, we love them to death, and they all deserve to be treated fairly and have a successful high school career. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Addison Thornsberry, and I'm a senior in this program.
Thanks, Addison.
Hi, my name is Olivia Neva, and I'm a senior in this program.
My name is Addison Crofts, and I'm a junior in this program.
Thank you.
I'm Misty Cradfield, and I spoke a couple of weeks ago with Tanner as well about this issue that's been ongoing with the girls. And so we're glad to see that there's been a lot more output from the parents and concern for this matter. So I appreciate that.
My name is Shannon Eve. I am the mom of a former player last year, Emma Eve. She went on to play college, and she's loving it. And I just want these girls to stay as engaged and continue on, because it's such a wonderful opportunity. And I see the sparkle leaving these kids, and it saddens me because there are so many opportunities in the sport in the Valley, and I hate to cut these girls short. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gary Belmore. My wife Victoria is here with me. We have a daughter at Flathead High School in her senior year, and we're here in support of what we're not allowed to say, but I think we all know something needs to get done and needs to be done quickly. It's an issue that has been ongoing. So we're looking forward to your assistance in getting a resolution to this problem, so girls in the future and the girls that we have in the program now can get on with what they're good at doing and have some success. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. I don't mean to cut you off.
Thanks. My name is Josh Neva. This is my wife, Carrie Neva, and we're the parents of Olivia Neva, senior in the high school. We're here, live in Kalispell.
Thank you. Anyone else? So I tried to explain it as best I could, but I offer Matt an opportunity to perhaps better explain our process.
I don't know. I don't know. I think you guys got the idea. I just say as an administrator and also a parent, we appreciate the passion that's in the room. We appreciate the passion that comes with entrusting your kids to us, especially as it follows activities and all that you're working through. We don't want to throw cold water on that, but understand we have processes to follow, and we want to make sure we treat our employees fairly, and we want to make sure we treat the process fairly, work through the complaints, and get a response back to whoever's filing the complaint. So I have not seen the complaint. I heard it was filed today, but I look forward to reviewing it if it makes it to me, and we'll get back to you guys. I appreciate you showing up and following our rules. It's probably as unwelcome as that was.
No, we greatly appreciate. Sorry, and I'm still on hot mic. Good. No, we greatly appreciate that, and thank you so much. And Steph, I really appreciate getting the chance to talk to you about this beforehand too, and also get to appreciate seeing all of you guys here because I've seen you all in the capacity of the program that we're talking about. So in any event, it's nice that you guys all came here, and I appreciate that. So with that, as I understand our policy, there's levels of it. But if it does not get resolved before and it reaches a level 4, then it will come back before the board. And I would encourage you all to come back again. I'm sorry to make you come twice, but that's our procedures, and those are what we have to follow. So, thank you. Okay, great. And there might be public comment on other issues, I'm guessing. Yeah, I was about to say. So with that. We took a brief diversion, but additional public comment on items not on the agenda. Dr. Ryder?
Hi, I'm Lynn Ryder. I'm representing the Kalispell Education Association. I'd like to discuss the new position of the instructional leader. This job description replaced the department chair job description at both the middle and the high schools. While I love the direction that the district is going with PCBE, the way this job change occurred did not follow the procedures and past practices that KPS has in place. One of the first things is the additional responsibilities that have been added to the instructional leader from that of the department chair. One of them is facilitating classroom visits to model, support, and/or coach integration of PCBE strategies. The other one is mandated summer trainings. There's 3 of them. These are all above and beyond the department chair job description. And while these are good for professional development for both our teachers and for our instructional leaders, these are all added to the old department chair job description at the same stipend as the department chair. An issue with this is that the new stipend position did not go through the stipend committee to analyze where it should be placed in the stipend hierarchy. I brought this issue up with Mr. Jensen on May 1st. Other stipend positions need to go through this committee, but this one did not. To say it was the same level of engagement and time commitment is not accurate. And the same job description is paid a higher stipend at the high school than the middle school. The equity is just not there. Another issue is that the department head position was brought up to the negotiation table last cycle. As with all negotiation, there is give and take, and some negotiated items are more important than others. And this topic was tabled for a later date. However, the changes happened anyway outside the negotiation forum. The final issue is that the department head position was negotiated in our CBA, our collective bargaining agreement, in the past couple years and prior, but I just wanted to show past practice within this administration's reign. That sounds like a bad word, but in this, was that the union and the district would meet when there was an issue with a department head position description, not meeting the rigors of the job responsibilities. Specifically, one was at the Ag Education Center. through a variety of meetings with the HR contact and the union. There was data collection and interviews. The union and the district agreed upon the new position, the egg coordinator or egg director. It was not only a raise in the stipend amount, but a more detailed description of the expectations for the position. The work that was done between HR and the union when collaborating to support our department chair at the Egg Center was exemplary. This unilateral change from department chair to an instructional leader was not. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. Any other public comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, so we will have, just so everyone knows, we will have an agenda that we're going to go through here, of which isn't particularly riveting for most of you all. So you are free to leave. If for some reason you didn't get a chance to speak and would like to, you're welcome to stand up and say your name on the microphone. You can also write your name on the sign-in sheet. And I encourage you to continue through the formal process that you guys have began, and I wish you all the best of luck. So thank you. Oh yeah, baseball is an agenda item later on down the road. Yeah. So, all right, thanks you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, we ran out of room on the sign-in sheet. Thank you. Just go on the back. We aren't used to getting to see so many folks, so. Thank you all. All right, and just now that the room is a little less crowded, any other public comment? Okay, hearing none, we will move on. Hearing none, we'll move on here. So we've got some action items coming up. We have our human resources personnel, first topic, 2025 MOU maintenance 2. We have, let's see here, I believe Pete's going to present on this, or is it going to be Matt?
Pete's got, I'll take it.
Okay, thanks, Pete.
So what we're just doing is we're basically solidifying a practice that we're already currently doing. So we have both maintenance 1, which would be a grounds, and maintenance 2, which is does a lot of the maintenance, the HVAC, some of the different things. But within the maintenance 2 job description, there's 3 bullet points in there that if you're maintenance 2, you also do some maintenance 1 work. As we're advertising for positions, we don't get a lot of applicants for maintenance 1, so we have hired people as a maintenance 2, so on the facility side in the maintenance, and with the understanding that they would be doing, hey, you'd be doing grounds, you'll be doing snow plowing, some different things, plus we'll have to pull you off and to do your regular job to be able to do some of the HVAC and some of the technical work that is in there. So this just basically solidifies that. It's already written in the job description. There's 3 bullet points that addresses it, but we just wanted to formalize it with the board, because we do have people who are in maintenance 1 that kind of work above and beyond and are able to do some of these skills. And so we wanted to be able to move them into the maintenance 2 position. So they would be doing some work in maintenance 2, but a bulk of the work in maintenance 1. The same with maintenance 2. They do a bulk of the work in maintenance 2, but some work in maintenance 1. So we just wanted to solidify it with the union and make sure that it just wasn't something that we were doing, but it was something that it was in writing with a memorandum of understanding or memorandum of agreement. And this is something that we would take a look at during negotiations with that union.
Great. Any questions for Pete? Okay. So do we have a motion to approve the 2025 MOU for maintenance 2 as presented? Thank you, Heidi. Second? Rebecca, thank you. Any further discussion or questions? Any public comment? Did I do that in the right order? Okay, great. Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, so passes. Next item, personal activity report, new hires, resignations, retirements, etc. Carrie, you got this one?
Yeah, there are no changes on this, but as promised, I put, added some open positions, and what we're going to be doing in the future is any department that has a 10% or more open position, we'll add it to this agenda. So as you can see, custodial techs and bus monitors are the highest, 17.5% for custodial and 58% for bus monitor. What this doesn't include are kind of the one-offs, our wellness and mental health position and our school psychologists, which are kind of one-offs, but I just wanted to mention them because they're important positions that we're still trying to recruit for.
Great. Thank you, Carrie, for putting that on there. I appreciate that. And let's see here. Any questions for Carrie at all? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the, I need to circle back to it here, sorry. Motion to approve the personnel report as presented?
So moved.
So moved. Thank you, Linda. Second? Thank you, Rebecca. All right. Any further discussion, comments, questions? Any public comment? All right. Hearing none. All in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Okay. None. It passes. Next on the agenda, additional SPED FTE at Peterson Elementary action item. And this is going to be by Shemaya. All right. Thank you, Shemaya. Go ahead.
I'm Shemaya Bennett, Director of Special Services, for those of you that I haven't met. So today I'm asking for your consideration to add an additional FTE for the Special Education Resource Program at Peterson. There is a little visual behind you that shows the target caseload range, which is between 15 and 20 students. That's what we would consider to be a healthy number of students on a caseload for a resource teacher. In red, you will see that we have Peterson, who is currently sitting with one FTE at 33 students. At the end of the table, you'll see that we've got the caseload per FTE to show the averages. So Peterson is currently sitting very high with the number of students compared to the one teacher that is there. Peterson and Rankin and Edgerton are our three biggest schools and historically have had 2 FTE, but currently we are at 1. So if you scroll down for me, I also just wanted to show some longitudinal data looking at our A and B. So in 2018, we had 11.96% of our students were in special education. If you look at those percentages, they continue to grow. So we're showing sustained growth with our SPED numbers. And right now we're sitting at 14.02%. Normally those numbers are captured in October, so we're a little bit early just looking at it because I wanted to capture right now. But this is our child count data. So in asking for that consideration, we really want to be able to protect our special education staff. It is difficult. It's a difficult role, and having 33 students it's a lot. It is a lot. And so I really want to make sure that we are able to provide our students with the equitable services, making sure that they're getting their minutes and just the correct services, while also taking care of our staff and making sure that we've got equity amongst our case managers throughout the elementary district.
Great. Thank you, Shemaya. Any questions, comments for Shemaya? Go ahead, Rebecca. I saw your hand first.
Any insight into why we're having increasing percentages?
I think that is kind of that's a big question. I think there's a lot going on just within society. I think we're getting better at identifying students. We just have a lot more growing needs, and the needs are getting more and more complex. I don't think there's necessarily one thing that we can pinpoint. I do think that we've got some pretty outstanding staff that are able to help implement interventions and do identifying earlier. And with that early identification, as far as much younger too, we're able to, protect those numbers a little bit, but it's just a growing need. So
is it our identification or are students coming in already having been identified by doctors or parents? Or?
It's both. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Will, you had a question?
Shemaya, do you know if Peterson has always just had one? Or
no. So, and Sarah could say how many years. Last year we had, I know it's been at least 3 years that there's been 2 teachers there. Last year, we were unable to fill that second position. And then with all the shifting, we did lose a teacher or reduced a teacher at KMS from the SPED team. And then starting earlier in this school year, we had our 8th grade case manager. We only had 1 case manager, and she was sitting at 39 students. And so that FTE got shifted over there because there was more immediate need at that time. And then the numbers grew to where we would expect them to be. So.
Go ahead, Linda.
Are you seeing any students exit the program?
Yes. I mean, our goal in special education is always to work ourselves out of a job. It's not something that we can ever guarantee, but we are able to exit students.
And what are you seeing? Like, are you seeing a particular age range where that's high school as they become more adept?
I would say high school, you definitely see the most exiting. When I worked in elementary, I did have some students that were able to exit, but I think that's typically we're referring them and getting them started. We usually see a lot more referrals around the 2nd grade age, just because that's when the pressures academically are getting a lot higher, and we can see that they've got all these deficits in reading. But I would say middle school, high school, we start seeing more exits. So.
Carrie?
With the caseload there now, do you have paras? Do you have other supports in place while you're waiting for our decision on the staffing level?
So currently, there's a teacher and a para. And then I have some other SPED staff that have lower numbers that are willing to help do the evaluations. But it does stretch them really thin when they're trying to do that in multiple schools. So.
My question was kind of along those lines. Can we see the slide that just had the numbers again, please? Thanks. Just the one right before that. Just with Hedges also getting close, my question was kind of along those same lines. Like,
So Hedges, I would say Hedges typically has a little bit lower. That is with Hedges in particular, she's sitting at a really nice number right now, but they have a lot of kids that need to be evaluated that we're pretty sure there's a good chance that they're going to be qualifying. And so that is incorporated within those numbers, or those initial evals that we know are going to be happening. I think they actually have about 16 students that they need to reevaluate right now.
so this number is like predictive of kind of what's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be okay for the year.
Oh yeah. I mean, knock on wood. I really hope so.
Great.
Go ahead, Linda.
How long does the eval take? Oops, I tried. How long does the eval take?
So we always want to have it done within 60 days. For our initial evals, that's the law. We have to have them done within 60 days. As far as the amount of time that it takes for a student and the staff, it can vary because it depends on what type of testing you're doing. Our more complex students, their evals are definitely going to take a lot longer. If you're just looking for like a learning disability, I'd say the psych is going to be working with them for probably at least 2 hours. The SPED teacher, probably about that amount of time. Some of it depends how far they go. You never really know. It just depends on how that student does. But
I guess what I'm asking is, are you able to meet that 60-day deadline?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like
because that can be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions for Chamea? Oh, go ahead, Rebecca.
With the uncertainty, I mean, there's still maybe some number shifting. You know, we usually have, doesn't usually come till mid-October. Do you think you might need a floater or somebody moving school to school, or you're pretty sure that one at Peterson is your need and we won't be short?
Okay, thank you. That's what I would anticipate.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chamea. Do we have a motion to approve up to 1 FTE based on the caseload numbers? Ursula?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, it passes. Next one, Greater Valley MOA, action on this one. Again, renewal of Greater Valley services in the schools and closure of the Linderman Education Center clinical site. So Carrie, I believe you got this one?
Yes, this is just a updated memorandum of agreement for the collaboration we have with Greater Valley Health Center to provide behavioral health and primary care services. They are at Glacier and Flathead and KMS. They have this year closed the Linderman primary care clinic. They are still providing outpatient, school-based outpatient therapy there. And that was due to strictly numbers. They weren't seeing enough patients. So this is just an updated collaboration with them.
Any questions for Carrie? Go ahead, Rebecca.
Sorry. Actually, it's probably a question. It's about building usage. With this movement, are we still okay using the area in Linderman, and are we still okay having space in the, you said Glacier and Flathead, or where they're not going to have clinical space?
Yeah, Glacier, Flathead, and Kalispell Middle School.
And middle school. Yes, sorry. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about space allocations and how we're doing on?
Sorry, I missed the very first part of that.
Just curious about space allocations in light of the clinic no longer being at Linderman.
You mean enough space for Greater Valley, or what we're doing with that vacated space?
Both, kind of. If we're taking a group out of Linderman and we're putting things into the other schools, and space is always a consideration for our students first. I mean, not that this isn't a student service, but direct academic student services.
Yeah,
How is space allocation going to be for both Linderman and the 3 schools where it's moving to?
Yeah, good question. We're not adding anything at Glacier, Flathead, or KMS. Those are already established clinic spaces. This would just be the reduction of the Linderman space.
Do you have plans for what happens in that space now in Linderman?
I'm sure Principal Barber has lots of ideas. I don't know them.
Any other questions for Carrie? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the Greater Valley MOA as approved? Thank you, Rebecca. Second. Thank you, Ursula. All right, any further discussion or comments, questions? Go ahead, Ursula.
I was just going to make the comment that, I'm glad to see this come up, even though it can be seen as like, oh, we're switching it around again. I really appreciate that the district is just feeling it out and seeing where it will work and is willing to kind of like try something and then reevaluate it. It's nice to see it reevaluated and come back, and I think we're getting closer to figuring out how this is going to work.
Yeah, and I also appreciate on the Linderman update that a lot of our students are served there by outpatient therapies that are there that are separate and apart from Greater Valley. And I'm happy to hear, obviously, that continuum of services is there and continues for those students. So any other comments, questions, thoughts? Okay, hearing none, and we have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, it passes. Now we'll move on to the business section. We have some informational items. All right, baseball, we're up.
Can I just give a little bit of background?
Yeah.
Okay.
You supposed to say no. You said no here. Wait, am I supposed to say no? Go ahead, Pete. You gotta give me a little
Yeah, I know you got to give them a taste of my own medicine on some of that. So I just talked a couple of weeks ago, just in my report, that this would be coming. So this as an informational item, and so the purpose behind this is to give you some information and a little bit of background. I'll go through that really quick, and then an opportunity for you to ask any questions, and if we need to bring further information back. But both Abby Snipes and Matt Allison are here. So they're just going to talk a little bit about the background. Obviously, it was approved in 2022 for the stipends, but we put that on hold because of funding issues. Once the levy passed, we said we would relook at that. So some of the areas that we've talked about at the district office that we need to address, and this is what Abby and Matt are going to go through, is the Title IX, the Ridgeway, and the proportionality. So they'll talk a little bit about that. They also surveyed the students, so they'll go through the student survey. It was an MHSA survey that they modified, tailored a little bit to fit Kalispell Public Schools. A little bit of a historical look back. They're going to talk about the budget and the fields, and then after get all your questions and information, what we would like to do is bring this back as an action item on September 23rd. So with that, I'll turn it over to Abby and Matt.
All right, thanks, board. I'm Matt Allison, Activities Director here at Flathead High School.
And I'm Abby Snipes, the Activities Director at Glacier High School.
I'm in my second year at Flathead. Abby's
My first year, so here we are.
First of all, thanks for what you do. Tough job, sometimes thankless, and so thanks for supporting us and our kids. Just so you have the background information, as Pete was saying, in 2022, MHSA approved baseball as a MHSA sanctioned sport. Right now, without Kalispell Public Schools, 12 of the 16 AA's are committed. I think Great Falls still needs to make sure they hit a funding number to make sure it can go through. But at the moment, 12 of the 16 AA's are committed. We would make 14 of the 16 AA's for this coming year. The board approved baseball stipends, like Pete said, in 2022. At that time, Abby and I weren't in these roles, but it was determined that due to funding, we shouldn't take this on. But we thought with the passage of a levy, this might be a great opportunity to provide. It's a growing sport in the Valley. I was a baseball kid. I loved it. I think it's just another tool that we have in our arsenal to support kids. Lots of things to be learned through the sport of baseball. Let's see. Since Glacier opened in 2007, 2 female sports have been added. We got girls wrestling, very strong numbers, I would say, and even stronger numbers, flag football. And there's some other things that we've added, but just we're keeping this information to MHSA recognized sports. So, cheerleading doesn't fall into there. Flathead dance team doesn't fall into there. So yeah, we've added 2 girls sports to the district since Glacier opened.
And the reason we didn't include cheer in our numbers in the dance is because MHSA doesn't, and Title IX paperwork doesn't include those in their numbers. But we do know we have lots of, especially female, but also some male athletes that participate in those as well.
But wrestling and flag football are considered MHSA sanctioned in Title
So
IX.
girls wrestling is currently sanctioned by MHSA, and flag football is anticipated probably this year it will be officially sanctioned.
They've classified it as an emerging sport. So.
Yeah. And I think we have the largest programs in the state.
Yeah.
So we have 65 to 70 in our program, and they have 45 to 50 girls in their program. So just pretty outstanding.
Yeah.
All right, if you would go to the next slide, please.
All right, so we surveyed our students. Always great to get student input. We sent this out to both Flathead High School, Glacier High School, Linderman Education Center, as well as we did send it to the middle school. As you would imagine, middle school students, August, early September, aren't really checking their emails a whole lot. So we didn't get a ton of feedback from them, but we did send it out to the middle school. It was about 50-50 on terms of female to male on the respondents. 133 of the students that responded to the question, what other athletic activities do you want to participate in high school that aren't currently being offered? 67 of those 133 identified baseball. Some information that Abby got probably this past week or so, that the Pee Wee Baseball League in our valley has had to expand the number of teams that they have due to increased numbers of boys registering for baseball. And then, as you guys know, baseball. Oh,
I think we're going to interrupt you guys on the fly.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
we're,
fine.
we're an active and engaged board here and have lots of questions.
Oh, sure.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ursula, and I may have a follow-up. Go ahead.
Was baseball the #1 identified sport in the survey?
By a long shot.
yeah.
Okay,
And there's some other stuff too, but then we also need to consider when we get these kind of the one-offs, it's, we're talking about an MHSA sanctioned sport. There were some other activities that the students were interested in, but they're not along the same lines of MHSA sanctioned sports or activities.
Our other top finding was that our students didn't know what an intramural sport was. So that would be something we can educate them on this year too. So.
And so follow up on that. I mean, I know of lacrosse, hockey, swimming, skiing. Are any of those MHSA sanctioned sports?
Not currently.
We have swimming.
Or
but-
sorry, swimming is, yes.
And we already currently
and we
offer
have
it.
that, yeah.
Oh, do we offer swimming?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my
It's
gosh.
great.
I'm so
I mean,
sorry.
it's
No.
Awesome
I-
activity.
We actually have a joint head coach for
Well, I need to
swimming.
go to a swim meet
It's
then.
great.
I try and go to an activity of all of
Rest lately, it's very hot in the summer.
Yeah.
And Matt pointed this out too, but in talking with some people in our Pee Wee baseball organization, they had over 650 registered players this year, which is about 100 more than they've had in previous years as well. So it's really a growing sport in our valley.
Great.
And if and when we add baseball, the two Helenas are probably the only schools, AA schools, that would not have added baseball this year.
Hey, Jen.
Yep.
Just a couple notes. I did, you guys will get a copy of this, and I did put the student survey on there. So there's a link to the student survey so you can see the questions. And then I also put basically the results on there. And then just to address what Matt said about the timing of it in August, actually that was really calculated because we knew that the student schedules were going to be coming out. And so we wanted to get the survey out right before the students got their schedules because we knew that they would be looking for emails on there. So it was really calculated on how and when we put this out. Mhm.
And we did send it to the partner schools as well. I don't think we had a ton of middle school participation, but I know we did send it out to them. So
great.
They're not as excited to see their schedules, perhaps.
And then could you guys just address the interest in there? Because 67 of the 133 identified as baseball, but that was on two different questions. Am I correct on that? One was on the, hey, what other sports would you like to see? And then it was also included on the intramural.
No, I believe that was all
Okay.
on the one question. I don't think I counted the baseball intramural.
Great.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so of course, when we're talking about adding any activity, and I think especially when we're looking at adding a male activity, some of the things that we really have to consider is kind of the legal side of it. So the Ridgeway settlement was based on a court case in 1982 in the state of Montana, and essentially it was questioning whether equal participation, basically if Title IX was being applied to Montana high schools, and they settled in respect to the plaintiffs, I believe would be the word in this case, and they found that it wasn't. And so the Ridgeway settlement, for the background piece of that, is one of the criteria, I guess you would say, or set of criteria that the Montana High School Association holds themselves to and its member schools, both of which, of course, Flathead and Glacier are part of. It's actually stricter in terms of proportionality and equal participation than the federal Title IX legislation in a lot of different ways. So the Ridgeway settlement, one of the first kind of measurement pieces or criteria is they look at if there's equal numbers of male and female sports that are offered at both of the schools, is kind of that first compliance piece. We're currently out of compliance, even with flag football not being an MHSA sanctioned sport. So baseball would help to put us in compliance. And if flag football was added, even though we would technically be out again in terms of number of sports, the proportionality of athletes that we have in kind of those male and females would put us back kind of in that compliance range. And I did talk to an MHSA representative today. I think Pete talked with some as well, just to make sure we were kind of on par with that. Did you have a question? Do you have the actual numbers for our sports and proportionality for our current state? We do.
I have a slide I can pull up.
I don't mean to derail.
No,
Yeah, we can get there later. If that's
You want to go
okay.
to it, Pete? I can go to it. If I can go to it. How do I? Why isn't this?
No, it's.
No.
Yeah, because it's a blended, it's a
Okay.
blended metric between number of sports offered and number of athletes participating from a gross standpoint, correct?
Yep. This is our numbers from the last 10 years. And we kind of split them out since
Pete, you're gonna have to.
and we did split them out here. You'll see kind of that top portion. Since flag football technically isn't an MHSA sanctioned sport, last year, like at Glacier, our numbers were 44 females to 56% males. With flag football, it puts us at 48 and 52. And then I think Flathead's beneath that.
And see, I'm a science guy, so I put the tenths percentages in there. Abby took the legal jargon because she's a former social studies teacher. So
Play to our strengths.
And then on the gross number of sports
Yeah.
percentages.
I think that's on the slides.
Per sport, is that what we're looking at?
Oh.
Not gross participants, but.
We're just talking about the male sports and
The offerings.
Yeah, that's on the next slide. Yep.
Oh, was it on the next slide too? Because I also did, as part of the proportionality, to look at it, the number of boys that participated at Flathead Glacier, or that were in there. So that's our total population, and the population is 4852 basically as a total. But they also have it broke down on the slides. But I was looking at this in terms of proportionality.
Understood. And then our Linderman students, they participate in either Glacier or Flathead, depending on.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. Understood.
And Title IX looks at proportionality based on your whole enrollment. So if you have 47% of your population being females, then you want 47% approximately. And they, when talking with MHSA, there's a little bit like a 5% kind of give or take that they're pretty generous with that. So if you're out of compliance, and this is the list of the two, just comparing. If
you want me to go to this one, Abby?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine. The two that we offer, I put an asterisk by flag football because it's they think it will be sanctioned next year or in the very near future. They don't see any obstacles to that at this point.
I think we're gonna have 43 teams this year for flag football
in the state. Yeah.
Last year we had 18. Year before we had.
So will you go back to the one that just shows the percentages really quick? I don't know if I'm looking at something wrong, but it looks like it's still less, like the percentage is still less for girls than boys. So won't this actually put us out of compliance? Like I'm pro baseball, but
Yeah.
I feel like those numbers are saying the opposite of what we're saying.
And that's the tough thing about Ridgeway versus Title IX, where if we were to add another girl sport to increase the number of girl participants, then we go further out of compliance with Ridgeway. Does that make sense? So if we added girls hockey.
So we have enough activities, even though the numbers are lower. So so the one we comply by number of activities offered, and the other one we comply by number of people in it. So we have to find the middle ground. And so these percentages are showing us that we, like it does, even with flag football, it's still less for females, but when it comes to how many activities we're offering, we need to offer an activity. So if we offer this activity, is it going to put our percentages out?
No.
Not significantly, because
Actually,
baseball is like 24.
Just a point of clarity, the Ridgeway agreement says that you have to have at least the same amount of girl sports as boys sports. There's no compliance issue with having the same amount of boy sports as girl sports. So the Ridgeway agreement is written where you can have more girl sports than boy sports, but not more boy sports than girl sports. So there's not a compliance issue if you have more girl sports than boy sports. The second phase of the Ridgeway agreement establishes these percentages, but it's just keep in mind, it's also based on the percentage of your student body that is male and female. Right. And there is some give and take. And what we're doing is taking like snapshots over time and looking at some really rough projections of what that would look like for baseball.
Okay.
But I just want to clarify two different conversations. We're not out of compliance by having more female sports than male sports.
And that's what I was going to say. So it seems as though we are not out of compliance percentage-wise or activities-wise at this point.
No.
So this would be a great thing. It will not put us out of compliance, but we are currently in compliance.
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just realized we're talking strictly male baseball, not softball. If we were adding softball, that would be
Softball
separate.
is already a program.
Oh, it's
Yeah, we already offer softball. Yep.
And Pete, can you scroll down to the percentage of total population? It was down a little further, I think. Or maybe it was up, sorry. It was where we talked about the student population percentages and then the participating in sports percentages.
This one?
No, keep going down. Isn't there one down further again? No?
Sorry, these are my notes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This one?
Wait. Yes. Yeah, this is the percentage. Is this the enrollment
Total
percentage?
enrollment.
Yeah. So we're looking at across our 3 schools, we got a 52% male enrollment, 48% female. So then when we translate that back into our sports percentages, can you scroll back up then again? Just keeping those kind of benchmarks in mind.
You want me to go to the other?
No, the flathead and the flathead and glacier one. Yeah. There you go. Yep, it's very similar. So there's, if we include flag football, we're 52-48 at Glacier. Go down to Flathead. Including flag football, we're 54-45 there. So we're very close. We're within the zone. So, okay. Sorry, just doing our due diligence here. Not that we know you did it, but you know, we're an active.
I know it's part of the presentation, so I just wanted to have it.
I also,
Sorry.
at the risk of hijacking the athletic director's presentation, just want to point out one other thing that they said I don't want to get lost in this conversation. We're looking at compliance with the Ridgeway agreement, but we're also talking about overall activities that are offered to male and female student athletes. So the Ridgeway settlement and this discussion is centered around MHSA sanctioned sports. You're not talking about overall opportunities that the school district is offering for male and female students. And so sometimes schools look at cheer or dance teams as maybe a hindrance to lowering MHSA numbers because students will pick an activity and they engage in that activity, which could drive down MHSA activities, which impact some of these numbers. So I think the board needs to consider questions relative to compliance and know that we're doing our due diligence, but also consider questions around equity and what we're providing as a district. And I can confidently say we're checking both boxes and we're attuned to those issues.
And I would just to add to that, particularly at AA schools, I think we see, and usually we're talking about female athletes pick cheer versus some of the smaller schools where they'll be in cheer and basketball, so they would count, their proportions would be different. So that really, adds to that. So we did, after looking at that Ridgeway of the equal teams, we did the student survey. Matt just shared the results from that. There's a pretty clear student interest in baseball. And then also just for some kind of current and historical relevance too, if we're looking at Title IX, obviously the federal legislation pertaining to that, for it to be assessed as providing adequate sports opportunities for females and for males, but largely it's focused on females. Of course, we have to satisfy one prong of this three-prong test, which is substantial proportionality, which we're pretty close with those enrollment numbers anyway. History and continuing practice of program expansion, particularly for female athletics, which we have added flag football in the last 3 years, which is generally their marker for that. And then full and effective accommodation of athletic interest. So having done the student survey, the high interest in baseball, we're actually satisfying multiple of those, but especially that third prong.
Go ahead, Rebecca. Just, is it because of MHSA that we're insisting this be not a co-ed sport, but a strictly male sport? Or is that I remember bringing this up with flag football. I was asked, would males be allowed to participate if they preferred a non-contact sport? And at that point it was said, yes, men could join the flag football team. I guess this was when it was first going in, but would that, is this MHSA or are you guys deciding we want male and female sports?
That would be MHSA. It's sanctioned as a male sport, and softball is the equivalent, although I believe a female athlete could play baseball if they chose to.
And could a male athlete play softball? So we allow women onto our male teams, but not men onto our female teams.
And that's an MHSA.
Yeah, no, I'm not judging. I'm just trying to understand. I guess I don't fully understand why baseball is not just a co-ed team. Sorry, my child's sport is sailing, which is a co-ed team, or all female. So I
think it's comparable to boys and girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, boys and girls wrestling. It's just instead of saying girls baseball and boys baseball, it's softball, and clearly there's a difference between softball and baseball for those of us who've coached, but it's fairly equivalent.
But a woman could try out for this team, and we're not considering co-ed teams overall.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I think there was a question earlier in terms of how much the numbers would maybe change a little bit. Baseball would be, if we're looking at softball numbers, probably a 24 to 30 student increase, I guess you would say, in the male athletics, which really wouldn't change those numbers too much. I think it's about half a percentage point to maybe a full percentage point on those.
All right. So a lot of times it comes down to money. And so this is what we're projecting. We've talked to a lot of the AA schools. So just general operational year-to-year expenses, we thought it was a very comparable program to softball. And so supply budget, the same as softball. Coaching stipends, softball currently has 4 coaches, so a head coach and 3 assistants. So we thought that was comparable. And then, so that's the 28,000. That number is the year-to-year operational costs. Field use, we've been in talks with Lakers crew. I think Abby's talked to Kidsport. There's another couple organizations out there that are willing to help support us with high school baseball. It's very exciting. We're actually, I think, probably the last schools in the valley to add baseball. So there's people in our community that want to see this go, and We haven't determined, who's going to play where, practice where yet, but we feel very supported by the organizations in our community. But we just threw out $5,000 as kind of a projected number based on what other schools are paying for field use costs. And clearly that's dependent, we would be the renters of some facility. So there's some gray room in there. And then the startup costs, we've got that from game one. We have a close ally in game one here in the community, and they helped the Missoula schools, and I think Belgrade and Billings. And so this is a pretty good ballpark number for the upstart costs of uniforms, bats, balls, throw down bases, baseballs. I guess that'd be on an operational cost.
Does this include the practice facility cost as well?
No, that's what we would roll into the field use costs.
Okay, got it. So that 5,000 is both practice and game.
Yeah.
Cost.
And clearly that's dependent on who we work with. And we don't, I don't know, I don't feel right going way down on starting a rental agreement with an organization until we've at least presented to you guys on kind of what our thoughts are. So the field use costs, I'm sure,
We've had some people come at us with some numbers that are much less than that, some that are a little bit more. So we felt like that was probably a pretty fair assessment.
And then what about the cost of transportation to games and refs and?
So that's budgeted into the general
Okay,
fund contribution,
okay.
Similar to softball is what we base those numbers.
This is a really dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So is it just the one team or is there like a JV team?
So softball has a varsity and a
Right.
JV squad. So we'd be looking at that
Okay.
probably for the two.
and I think based on
Numbers.
I've been here for 5 years and 2 years as an activities director, and all 5 years I've heard parents ask and kids ask, when are we getting baseball?
Yeah.
I think there's just a large
Okay.
desire to play high school baseball.
And that 60,000 was a look at the numbers. That's for both schools to start as far as startup costs. And then it also, so there is the supply budget of the 4,550. Those would be for each school. So the top part, we didn't take any. So when I was kind of looking at some of these numbers, that $4,550, part of that would kind of go into that, the 60,000 divided by 2 for the two schools. I didn't necessarily separate them for this first year, but and we have more of a delineated kind of list that we could share too. But there's costs that'll happen every year. Like there's, we'll have to start with purchasing more bats the first year, but then that will significantly decrease like it did for our softball programs, practice balls, but then you are going to be purchasing those game balls and things like that on a yearly basis. So some of those, even though it's startup costs, some of those would be recurring, but not obviously to that $30,000 tune.
And I don't want to jump ahead, but how does this affect the Lakers?
Different communities have done it differently. So we've kind of been in conversations with the Lakers, and I know we have a few representatives here, so I don't want to, I think it'll be maybe open to general comment so they can speak to this too. I think we've seen some AA communities really successfully kind of navigate this relationship where they work with the Legion program. The Legion program doesn't start with their high school athletes until after the high school season is done, and then they compete for Legion. Other communities, their Legion programs didn't allow any of their players to play for the high school, and it really decreased kind of the competitiveness of their programs. I think it created kind of a rift in their baseball communities. From our conversations with the Lakers, we're leaning much more to that positive side of things.
And then does the Legion, that's expensive for kids. Is it expensive for kids to play ball? So this offers kids who maybe couldn't afford to play Legion a chance to play.
Potentially, and the hope being that, they go right from high school baseball into Legion as well. So.
I tell parents all the time, playing a AA sport in this community is very cost effective. Like the board and our budget supports kids on the travel. Like our kids pay $150 or $100. I can't remember the exact number, but $100, $150 to play AA sport. That's a heck of a deal. I mean, I pay $50.
Sorry, I'm parent.
Yeah. But it's a good deal.
Is there anybody who can speak to what is anticipated by way of the relationship with the Lakers, Legion, and the high school? And Go ahead.
We'd love to.
Great.
You wanna say stuff?
I'm going to use my board chair discretion to allow some additional information. Yeah, I can do that. Can I wait till you guys are done and then I'll offer public comment? We'll do it by public comment because I know obviously we're interested.
And I'll just
in that.
mention, I appreciate Brad and Amy being here. They're super supportive of high school kids. And Abby and I believe that this is another opportunity for our students to have an opportunity to play baseball and be connected. And there's something just American about baseball. And I selfishly, what's that? We might, yeah. If we're playing a baseball game on Pi Day, maybe we could do that. Yeah.
And one last thing with the Legion, not this season, but in the next season, MHSA is also looking at moving state baseball up a week from currently it's the same weekend as state softball, state track, and state tennis. They're looking at moving tennis and baseball up a week so that they can get started on their Legion season earlier and so that they can hopefully get more attendance at all the state kind of tournaments and events.
So any further presentation from you guys at this moment or are we?
Yes.
Do we have any more slides?
Pete says yes.
I have 2 questions on this slide before we move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Can might be able to address some of it, maybe not.
Forgive my ignorance. Where does the softball currently use for fields?
Flathead currently uses kids sport.
They use kids sport. Okay.
And we have fields that we build on our campus.
Okay. And so we don't think that this will be an overuse of field. I mean, I know that field space is an issue, but we think that this is a different type of field and we're probably not.
They're much
Legends, and
different
we're probably not
measurements
KMS,
and
and we're
things.
probably, that's not an issue. And the other question was financial. When we first looked at this, I thought there was some free money coming in and so that we weren't being charged. So that's why we were looking at it. Is that dried up because we waited 3 year or 5 year?
I think that was flag football. I don't think the same deal extended to baseball, unfortunately.
I thought it was something for the Range Riders that there was some support for it. Anyway, that is not currently,
wish.
there's currently not
Not aware
financial
of
support
it.
that we
We
have.
have had, it's just interesting, you start talking about baseball. Baseball's a big deal in our country. And you start talking to people about it. And I've had people kind of come out of the woodwork of like, hey, I'd love to help support, get this going. How can I donate or how can I help you? And
Yeah, large amounts of fundraising dollars I think would be coming in.
we met in early August. I think this is pretty special too, that we decided, it was kind of the 3-headed monster of Abby, myself, and Pete. Just, we want to make sure that if this does go, it's going to be a school district 5 move. It's not going to be, if Flathead can't fundraise enough, Glacier adds it and vice versa. And so it's going to be a school, we would like it to be a school district 5 ad or not.
So just to address that with Matt, so just one of the things, and Matt and Chris can correct me if I'm wrong, but the $17,000 is already built into the general fund because that was approved back in 2022. So we carry those, but it'd be like an unfilled position as we go through. I don't know if it's to the tune of $17,000, but then the general fund, so that top 28,000 would be absorbed by the general fund. And so what we had talked about basically this summer is fundraising for startup cost at the tune of about $60,000. And one of the things you don't see on here, and what Abby and Matt did, is they put together a pretty comprehensive list. Taking a look at what the Missoula schools did, and then also working with, Game One, just Matt mentioned some specific needs, for baseball. So they did, their homework on what this looked like. Cause when we originally looked at it, it's like, ooh, it's going to cost probably about $100,000 per school. Well, when you add everything, it does. But, what we would be doing is looking out and going forward with basically fundraising and saying, hey, this is the money we need to raise for the startup cost because it is not included in the general fund. And then what Matt has alluded to is it's like, hey, we're not going out and Flathead's raising 30 and Glacier's raising 30. As a school district, we're going out and raising $60,000, at least $60,000 to get this basically up and running.
Any further presentation from you guys? Pete, are they get everything you want?
I don't think we have any more slides. Do you have any more slides?
No. Okay. All right. With that,
Oh, no, then I did have some general questions of rougher questions.
well, we will have additional questions here, but I wanted to offer some public comment, and then perhaps that will offer some answers and we can ask additional. If you guys don't go running away, okay.
We're just gonna see the mic.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, would love to hear some public comment on this. Thank you guys for being here.
All right.
Okay, so I wasn't planning on talking. Forgive if I stumble through this a little bit. My name is Amy Britt. I'm actually the Booster Club president here at Flathead High School. I spend my free time raising money for such things like this. Youth sports is a huge passion to me. I think that the more we keep our kids involved, the more they don't have time to go kind of running rogue. And I put 4 kids through Flathead High School. They've all graduated. And 2 years later, I'm still here as the president. It means that much to me. My husband, Ben, is here with me. I couldn't do anything that I do without him. My real job when I'm not doing that is I run the Kalispell Lakers and Legion program. This is Brad Nikkinen. He's the president of my board of directors. I'm in charge of about 72 families for 9 months out of the year playing baseball. So we're here to answer those questions for you. The first question was, how does Legion and high school coexist? And that's something we've been speaking quite a bit about. The Kalispell Lakers Legion program is celebrating its 50th year this year. And we know that this is happening, whether it be this year or next year. We've been preparing for this. Our goal is to find a marriage. And so what that would mean is the Legion program typically runs through, we have tryouts right after spring break when the kids return. And then we run through July 31st. Then kids get about 10 days off and then they head to the football field. So what this would do to Legion is it would shorten that season. So we would not begin until Memorial Weekend once the state tournament wraps up, just like Abby was talking about for softball. We don't support, was it Helena?
Missoula.
Missoula's take on high school baseball, where they really basically came across and said, if you play high school baseball, you are not playing Legion. Choose. We don't support that in any way. We want this to all come together. The more kids that can play baseball in the Valley, the better, right? It does give kids an opportunity to play for a lot less money. It also gives kids an opportunity that want to play baseball, but perhaps not give up their entire summer. Legion baseball is a 7-day-a-week sport. We practice every single day of the week. We travel every single weekend, beginning
mid-April, yeah.
15th-ish to July 31st. At the AA level, we have 4 teams. They start at 13. We range all the way up to 19. At the AA level, how many games do we play this year?
70-ish.
70-ish games per team, or per that AA team. So it's a lot, right? Legion is very expensive, although we don't have our kids pay out of pocket. They do corporate fundraising around the Valley. We would like to incorporate some of that corporate fundraising into the high school fundraising. We have a lot of businesses in this Valley that, like Matt was saying, really support baseball. And I think that we can tap into those values and sort of bring this all together. If they're not donating quite as much to Legion because the season shortens, then they can donate some of that extra to the high school. So we at the Lakers are very willing to bring that together, and a lot of fundraising ideas that we utilize. We operate on, I believe, about a $200,000 budget a year. This is our friend Kim. She makes our budget for us. I think our budget last year was about $250,000. Comes from fundraising. We are a nonprofit, and so we're really, really good at it. So to that, we welcome this. Part 2, we have 2 fields. Down right off of Airport Road. If you all haven't come to a Lakers baseball game, you should. It's a lot of fun. One field has lights. So there's a strong opportunity there to support a JV end of our city game program, or to have, 2 schools using the fields in that after school time for practices. So we are very, very interested in welcoming both Glacier and Flathead to Griffin Field and figuring out what that partnership looks like. And I think that's something that Brad can speak on a little bit more. He's been doing some of the work on that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, again, my name's Brad Nickenen. I teach in the district, coach in the district, and somehow got drawn to be the board president for the Lakers. But yeah, we want this to happen for sure, and we're willing to work together. We are developing our budget for next year as we speak, but we're holding off because obviously high school baseball is going to impact our program greatly. We're going to go from a 4-month season to a 2-month season, and so we're waiting until we know what happens here. But we do want to work together. I've spoken a lot with Abby about how we can make this work. We currently, like Amy said, we can run 4 teams in the summer at our facility through practices between 8 a.m. and about 11 a.m. And so we feel like both Glacier and Flathead really could utilize our facility, 2 fields, batting cages, that whole business, and make it work. But it may be better, we'll leave it up to these two, to have separate facilities for practice time, and maybe our facility becomes game. Those are details we'll work on later, but we're just here to say, hey, we support this. We're willing to work with Kalispell Public Schools to make this happen.
Great. And normally we don't have questions of the public, but if you guys would be willing to entertain a few questions from our board, and I looks like Linda has got one, and I want to make sure.
It's not a question. It's a thank you for accommodating this and being so gracious about it. It'll just make the program so much better. Thank you.
Thanks for seeing us.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for everything you're doing and all of your efforts with us and your desire to work on this moving forward. So any other questions, comments from the board on this front? Go ahead.
I just clarify, if maybe it's just because I didn't read the agenda close enough. Would the proposal be that this would actually start in 2026 for Flathead and Glacier? So this would be for this school year?
Yes, we would be bringing back a recommendation at the next board meeting.
Okay.
But we wanted to get this out in front. If there's questions, if there's more information, if there's something else that you wanted us to look into to help you make a decision.
Hey, Jen, I have a question too.
Okay, go ahead, Scotty.
Thanks. On the fundraising aspect, Pete, is no matter where the funding comes from, that funding can be split 50-50?
Yes, Scott, that is correct. We would go out and fundraise as a district. It wouldn't be individually for Glacier or individually for Flathead. It would be say, hey, the minimum we need to raise $60,000 in order to start baseball in the spring of 2026. And so we would have one fund that would come into.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, Jack, you look like you had a question.
I'll support it if Kim brings hockey back next year.
Any other questions or comments?
I second Jack's motion.
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca. Go ahead. Sorry, Rebecca, you have comments or questions?
Or questions for the other two. No.
Thank you guys
If
very
those
much.
guys-
We really appreciate it. And if we have any other questions for you, we'll let you know. So.
Actually, one of the questions is for Pete. So usually there's some form of school contribution. You're talking about that entire 60,000 being completely put on the 2 teams to fundraise, or will this district have an amount that they give yearly or for new uniforms or, all that long-term support?
So basically the operational costs would be absorbed by the district in the general fund budget. So is what I talked about a little bit with the stipends are already approved. The $60,000 is one-time startup costs.
And we're asking them to fundraise that entire amount.
Yes.
You two on the hot seat. First, I just want to say it's great to see you two working together. I don't know if you heard about it. I did mention when we looked at the coaches' handbooks, it was really clear that you guys have been doing a great job of really working together. It's lovely to see our schools, not everybody duplicating everyone's work. So, just kudos on what a great job you two are doing together. One of my questions was about, so when we've done various surveys about athletics in general, we've heard quite a bit that we'd rather have intramural or non-competitive, or, can we just swim, or can we just play baseball, or are we making sure that we're meeting the needs of our community in non-MHSA, which means competitive activities as well?
I mean, I can speak for Glacier and I'll let you jump in, Matt, for Flathead. I think we've seen an increase in some of our intramural offerings and kind of differentiation the last couple of years. Things like, oh gosh, where is my brain? Like yard games sometimes have become a little bit more popular. Our basketball, we have pretty competitive dodgeball intramural if anyone wants to jump by to see those. And so we are pretty responsive to what students want to do with those. However, I would say looking at the survey, we still have kids who don't quite know what an intramural is. And so I think that would be a focus area for me this year, is making sure that kids know that those options are available and can jump out. And to your earlier point, those are really co-ed. So we see a lot of athletes interacting and having a pretty good time in those too.
Yep, and then I just add, we have our dance team. I think they'd probably like to be classified a little higher above intramural, but it's not recognized by MHSA. They do a fantastic job. We do volleyball after volleyball season gets over. There's kind of a night of boys volleyball where the girls coach the boys, and it's a lot of fun. And this past year, we developed we called it Braves Basic Training, where we invite middle school students in. Our head strength conditioning coach leads it. We've got our coaches in there, but it allows middle school students to come in and get used to lifting weights. And really, we just want to, through intramurals, build community. And so we're open to ideas. And I think the student interest survey has given us a lot of good ideas of what we can do and the direction for intramurals.
Hold on, Rebecca. I just want to shed light on something that's not being talked about, and it's the overall staffing that is required to add these opportunities. We can collect survey information. We can talk about adding baseball. If you look at the past several years, we've added other sports as well. We've opened 2 charter schools within the district in the last year, and we have not increased staffing. So I just want to recognize that we're about as thin as a district trying to provide all of these opportunities, activities for students with the current staff we have. And there's going to be partnered recommendations with our staffing matrix around all of this, right? So if we're zooming out, and we're talking about a high school district that's gone from 90% funded, working on a pretty bare bones budget and corresponding opportunities. And now we have a good problem, right? How do we scale up to 100% funded district? And I think this is a solid recommendation. There's other things that need to be considered as well, especially when you start tapping into what are we doing to address the other things that come up in the survey? How are we promoting more intramural activities and things like that? Right now, I would not stretch our building administrators to assume that they would have the capacity to add anything else that came on those surveys. So just want to be really transparent about that.
Any further questions or comments from the board?
I guess there is one left for Matt, although I am absorbing what you just said. I mean, I thought you were going towards let's add an assistant AD or let's add a district-wide AD support position, and that's different. Anyway, that'll take 2 weeks before I send off that horrible email I send off. On KMS, I mean, I assume once we start having high school sports or high school baseball, KMS will want to also have one. Are we putting that into our thought process and considering if and when, and is that an issue?
No, I have not heard about adding baseball to middle school, but I will be a broken record on talking about 6th grade sports at KMS. So we currently do not offer any outside of cross country, and I think there's 2 activities that middle school students can participate, cross country being one of them. But those programs were cut years back, never added back. And if you look at 6th grade as a pretty vulnerable year for our students, all of our students are coming together from our 6 elementary schools, and activities is where kids make connections. It's where they build culture. It's where they get plugged into a lot of really healthy activities. And the fact that we don't offer that as a district is something that I intend to address. We're trying to address it just with the current budget and staffing. It's been the limiting factor. The other issue is just facilities. We're pretty stretched on our middle school facilities, even with the 2 gyms. If you look at the number of teams that we have, KMS has more teams than both of the high schools, not combined, but individually, just because those are non-cut years. So if you have if you offer volleyball, I think you could end up with 7, 9 teams participating in the volleyball season. The seasons are shorter, but still, it's a pretty large strain on the facilities. But no, short answer is no. I haven't heard of baseball in the middle school, but I guess I'd defer to our ADs.
Just the only comment I'll make on it is we offer at the high school a lot of activities athletically that the middle school doesn't.
Most actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So any other questions for these guys on the issue of expanding baseball and the information they presented? Okay, thank you guys. We appreciate your time. Thanks
you
for coming in. Next one, hey, we gotta celebrate Glacier High School bond payoff information. Who's taking this one?
Chris is.
All right.
All right, and then I have a really no. I was gonna make a joke, and then I decided no joke. Okay, Glacier High School paid off in full. The original bond was issued 20 years ago in 2005. It was 2 bonds, a total of $39.8 million is what the community took on. There was a refinance, kind of a tiered refinance, it seemed like, that saved approximately $1 million, kind of like around the midpoint of the life of that bond. Total interest paid over the 20 years was $18.2 million. And the annual tax impact was about $2.3 million. So current value, estimated value of Glacier is between about 135 and 170 million. So if things get tight, I just say we flip it. But I was trying, I was going to try and teach that. Yeah, so. But
I think you're gonna miss the joke. You're gonna have to repeat it.
If things get tight, we flip Glacier. But I get a finder's fee for thinking of it. So. That's that.
Well, it's not. I'm gonna just add a little to that good news. So at the bottom there, you see just that note of we had A&E run some projections on if we were to build that building today, what it would cost us, and the projection came in at 135 million. Remember, when you run a bond, you run it for all of the costs associated with the FF&E charges, the equipment, all of that. So those projections came closer to 170 million. So if we just roughly came in at a conservative cool 150 million, and we've invested 50 million approximately into that space. What a value add to our community over the last 20 years of $100 million. So we're planning a press release sometime in November. And I actually was able to talk to former Superintendent Darlene Schottel today. And it'd be nice to get Darlene, if she was willing to do it, and a couple of board members that were board members at the time to speak about their experience running that bond, because at the time that was pretty controversial, if you remember back then. And just celebrate. I think we do a good job of promoting levies and bonds and speaking to the value they add to a community. And this is just a really fun time to circle back and celebrate the payoff, what's coming off of taxes, the value add to a community, and just tie a bow on that. So that's our intent, and we'll get some more specifics out about that press release when we make it happen.
All right. Any other questions, comments for Chris or Matt on the Glacier High bond payoff? All right. Next.
Jen, whoa.
Whoa.
I
Go
got
ahead,
one.
Scott.
No, I just appreciate Matt celebrating all the good stuff that's been going on in the district. He's doing a great job of bringing it forward, doing press releases, press conferences with that. And so I just want to thank you, Matt, for doing that and bringing all the great stuff forward that School District 5 is doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Anyone else? All right. Thanks. Let's move on to the next one. Annual budget development process and timeline information. Chris, you're up.
All right, so I'll try and be quick here because the meeting's gone for a minute. One of the things that kind of, when I first came into the district, there was a handful of things going on. One was we were facing massive budget deficits, potentially reduction of 40.5 FTE. Then we had a protracted negotiation cycle that probably went over the course.
Sorry,
of
Chris, do you have a presentation for this?
Oh, did you? I thought you didn't want it. You do?
Yeah, do you have it?
I have a link I can send somebody who's driving. Pete. Let me push it to you, Peter. 1 second. Right. Oh, come on. There you go, Pete. Did it come?
While we have this break, Matt, Matt or Pete, would you guys like to introduce to the board our new maintenance director?
I would be really glad to, but I think the only person happier to see Jeff come to Kalispell Public Schools would be Pete.
Yeah.
Jeff Richer is actually. Let's just let you introduce yourself and where you're from and how you ended up in Kalispell.
It's a long story, so I'll give you the short version of the story. But my name is Jeff Richard. My family and I just moved here 25 years of family service. I kind of took a gamble. I saw the posting listed way back in March or February. And this is what I've done for 25 years for the Navy. The Rear Report is completely like it. And I don't know why anyone would do it. So when I found out that the superintendent and assistant superintendent were doing this, I thought, well, I need to call them, let them know that I'm going to do this if they have me. So I interviewed back in March. Family got super excited about the opportunity to move up here. And I really believe in this is something that I'm passionate about. I love to repair buildings, not just for building sakes, but because the buildings serve a purpose. And after doing this for my nation, I got really excited about getting a fellow. So being able to continue to serve the capacity of my family of educators, to be able to do this is a real honor. And I'm certainly looking forward to it. Hopefully not as much as the teachers. So it's good to meet y'all and thank you for the opportunity to be here.
We're super glad to welcome Jeff, and he's been on the job a couple weeks. He's toured all the sites and had a sneak at all of the to-dos, and he's still here. So we're especially grateful for that.
And he navigated a fire drill, an unplanned fire drill at Hedges. Yes, so got to know one of our oldest facilities. It is our oldest facility, right?
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Bill.
So, is there a connection between the fact that you just arrived and all the buckets they have?
We're wondering about that.
So, quick little side story. I was done some course with the Marines as well. And I went into a building once, and there were 2 Marines cleaning their weapons, sitting on their beds cleaning their weapons. And the Marine that I was standing with, the senior Marine, looked at these 2 young Marines ago. There was a leak in the ceiling. There was a bucket sitting on the floor, catching the water. And the team was really frustrated that nobody called me when they faced this with Thomas by accident. So the senior Marine looked at these 2 young Marines and said, "Why didn't you tell me they thought this?" And they looked at him square in the face and with not even smart on it. They said, "We got a bucket." So lots of problems.
We got a bucket.
We got a bucket.
Yeah, duct tape goes a long way too.
I hope to do better than buckets and duct tape, but I'm finding there's a lot going on in a lot of these buildings. I'm excited to find it all.
And someone did warn you that we're a little bit landlocked before you moved here?
Yeah.
Okay.
True statement, yes.
Just making sure that.
But there's a giant lake just out
There
there,
is.
so it's close enough.
It's ocean-like in the spring. It's very nice. Well, thank you, Jeff, and welcome. We're happy to have you here.
All right, back to our regular scheduled program.
Right. All I was trying to get at, just really quick from the start, was when we first got here, there was kind of just some really chaotic things going on that kind of disrupted normal day-to-day operations and probably what a normal transition into this role would have looked like. On top of that, we rebuilt a general ledger that had kind of spiraled out of control, where I didn't feel like I had any clarity when trying to model budgets and build things. So we rebuilt that. We rebuilt our whole budgeting system. Now that we have new systems, a new accounting system in place that's fully functional now, at least I think fully functional it is. The next step in sustainability for us, now that we have established some systems, is consistent repeated practices that we do from one year to the next. And that's kind of the shift in focus, at least for me in my department. I think kind of the central office crew in some ways as well. So this is just the first draft of what we are kind of working through in the budget development process. Budget development is really like a year-long thing as you get more information about enrollments and legislative changes and elections. Like all of those things through the course of a year are a portion of that development process. So on the screen there, you can kind of see the key milestones that we've identified. And through the course of a given year, I would have you guys expect to hear from us on each of these kind of key milestones so that you kind of get an update. If we stay consistent in our practices, now that we have good systems in place, I really do think that sustainability is within reach. And when we do need to course correct, like I've said in the past, number of meetings, we can incrementally course correct rather than making these massive corrections that are really, really tough for everybody. So that's that. I can talk to any specifics if anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Chris? Okay, hearing none, thank you. We'll move on to the next one. Elementary and high school district budget discrepancies, HB 557 and interlocal fund usage information. Chris, I think you're up, or maybe Matt, I'm not sure.
Oh, rock, paper, scissors, Matt. I'm just kidding.
We'll tag team it. This agenda item is born out of the reality that Chris and I see coming with the discrepancy between our elementary and our high school budget. So we just want to be upfront, very transparent about the fact that we're heading into a budgeting process and negotiation process with in a lot of ways we look at budgeting across the district with both budgets combined, especially when you're talking about salary matrices and things like that that impact both districts equally, with two very different budget outlooks. So with that in mind, there's lots of different opportunities and lots of options for how you address that problem. I think that on one end of the scale, you budget towards the leanest budget, if that's a consideration. On the other end of the scale, you look at all the different efficiencies and all the different opportunities where you can combine budgeting and expenses. So in those conversations that Chris and I have had, just of projecting out the budgeting process and different scenarios that might come up, one option that has come up is recent legislation around House Bill 567. So I'll kick it over to Chris, and he can tell you a little bit about what he's explored behind that bill.
Yeah, so it actually came, this came up in a meeting with Lance Melton himself. Lance was kind of the driver of this bill this past session. And one of the things brought up in the conversation with Lance was that graphic that we've shown at a couple meetings recently where with the higher FTE requirements for certified teachers because of the lower class sizes in the elementary district, we have about $800,000 more in certified salaries that we need to spend in the elementary district. That is also compounded by lower funding on a per student basis in the elementary district, right? And so I showed Lance that same graphic that we've all seen here, and he's like, that was the whole reason for House Bill 567. What it does is it formally locks in the rules around interagency agreements, which interagency agreements are created to create an interlocal fund. Interlocal fund is what essentially functions like a savings account. You can transfer to that interlocal fund, which you guys I think are all familiar with. From virtually any fund, there's a couple that you can't. What Lance pushed for in this bill was to remove restrictions on really kind of two key things. One was that the transfer in had to be spent with the intent of which it was transferred. So there was some kind of discrepancy over the years between whoever was chief counsel at OPI on how that was interpreted, the law in its previous form. But it was not just removing the barriers around original intent for the transfer in, but also the original district for which the money was transferred in from, being going back essentially to that district. Lance's words were that it effectively would allow a district to work as a K-12 unified district. The implications of this, of course, could be very, very significant. And there's a million different rabbit trails we could go down initially that may not be super productive without kind of some maybe greater context and understanding of the intent of the bill, the parameters of it, and what it would potentially look like to move forward once we have a complete picture of the intent. So at this point in time, I don't think we're wanting to get really specific on what it could potentially look like, but we're essentially asking for your direction on, is this something that we want to pursue further? Is this something we'd want to potentially pull Lance into a meeting or get some of his guidance to kind of give us a complete framework and a complete picture? And then after that, if it was something that we wanted to consider further and actually like formally begin to look into moving forward at that point in time. I don't know if there's anything else, Matthew.
So just to be clear, the bill has passed
It did.
and now it's being interpreted. And so it's kind of all like different schools around the state may interpret it slightly different. We kind of have a choice to make directionally, but the groundwork is there. It's already been passed.
Yeah, it has been passed. There is potential that if we ever did decide to move forward with this formula, that the interlocal agreement would need to be redrafted or so yes, it has been passed, but there's a handful of things that we just didn't want to dive too deep into before just kind of getting it out there and getting a feel for your thoughts.
I don't have any problem investigating more and trying to understand it more. The part I'm puzzled about is from the very beginning, it seemed like it could, the originality of the money lost its identity when it went in and could be spent any way you wanted. And that we as a school district, I didn't think it was formalized in the interlocal agreement, but we said that we would reallocate the money back to its original source as needed. And that we would also create set-asides within there with specific purposes, whether it was for whatever it was. And so now you're saying they clarified that more? Because I thought it was real clear at the beginning.
Right. So in the discussion with Lance, there was interpretation that went one way or the other over different legal counsels that were.
But the law didn't say you couldn't do it. And so with the absence of that clarity, you could do it. And so that's always been one of my, Sue's not here tonight, but that's been one of my issues with MSBA because they are inconsistent in their understanding and applications, because the law is very clear. You don't have to go and say you can't do it just because it says you can't do it. But at the same time, I will personally struggle with taking the money from one district and applying it to the other district, even though that's always been available to do. It's just, and to me, the funding of the elementary is a legislative issue that they have to resolve, and that, yes, the interlocal agreement can be a crutch. I don't know if I want to call it a bridge, but it can be a crutch to solve short-term problems. I wouldn't want it to be a long-term solution by any means, but.
Yeah, just to kind of give a little context on the state of our elementary general fund. After a reduction of 14 or 15 staff last year. At this point in time, we are at a $60,000 surplus for the current year. However, because our title funding was very delayed, and then it finally came through maybe a week or so ago, week and a half ago. I'm meeting with Peter and Sarah later this week to review positions currently funded by title. So we may be pushing some of those out to the general fund. But after a reduction of 15 staff the following year, essentially on a razor thin margin, we have that we are going to have to do something. We are going to have to take action in some way. And I don't know on the instructional side how we trim further. Operations is already strained. So I'm not making this case to say like we got to do this in any way. I'm just saying like I just want to be very, very clear that the elementary side is going to struggle.
And I'm fine with you in investigating and making sure you fully understand what the House bill is offering. I think that's the right thing to do. But the subsequent questions then will be challenging. The subsequent answers will be challenging.
Ursula?
Because of the way the district is structured with the partner schools, this becomes kind of a weird issue. And right now, because the high school is more funded, it seems kind of obvious to me, like, well, the only option we have for the elementary district is to do this. And the voters in the elementary district have consistently voted, yes, we will do what it takes to keep these schools funded. So short of a legislative change, the voters are doing everything they can to keep these schools funded. On the other side of this, though, last year, with the high schools being so underfunded, if we were doing the same thing where we were allocating money, which I know there wasn't, but if it got so tight that there was somehow more in the elementary district, that does feel a little bit like, well, these people are, like, because of the way that taxes are for city versus county, it starts to be a weird thing where it's like, okay, well, how do you explain to the county voters, the people in the high school district, the need if we are covering the need with people that are, like, it gets trickier there. Like in this case, the only solution would be either legislative or this, but if it was reversed, then it becomes a part of that conversation, which was so important with this last levy of explaining to the voters how it works, why it's important, and what's at stake. And so it feels like for me, like in the one way, it seems great. And in the other way, it feels like it'd be a problem. So it could be year by year, but I would be worried about it becoming just the overall practice of all the money goes into the pot because of the way things have to be explained to the two different parts of the district.
Yeah, really, really good insight, Ursula. And I think between you and Jack, the comments are very similar and resonate with intent of voter. And I just want to be super clear from the get-go that Chris and I would not be bringing a recommendation for you to use voted funds, voted budgets to offset other district budgets, either way. Right, as you articulated, it could go both ways. So we're not talking about voted budgets. What we're talking about is exploring a continuum of options based on non-voted budgets. And I think there's lots of ways to look at it. Ironically, I think we looked at with the baseball discussion when we were talking about the percentage of female and male students that are participating in activities. You have this relationship there between how many people are, how much you can pull from. So in the case of female athletes, how many females you have in a school to pull from to fill those sports teams, what those numbers look like. In the same kind of parallel relationship here, we have, an elementary budget that has a lesser capacity based on the same number of students as a high school budget that has a higher capacity based on the same number of students. So one alternative look is exploring what's the proportionality of how much you're spending out of your budget for district shared expenses versus what percentage of your budget is the other side of the district paying for. I hope that's not too complicated, but basically it's a concept of a progressive tax, right? It's just looking at it differently of saying, if the maximum budget at an elementary is this, is it appropriate to split the dollar amount, or is it appropriate to split it by percentage of the budget that they have the capacity? So, that we're not making a recommendation tonight. We're just putting a shot across the bow that we're in this budgeting process. We recognize that it's going to get entangled. We have some pretty big differences between the two budgets in the district. And for us, we need to start pursuing a path of a clear line of thinking of, how are we going to manage the discrepancy between the two different budgets? And then what are the options? But as you guys have articulated, the problems that come up with communication on a voted levy is significant. And the trustees are responsible for communication one of your responsibilities is communicating with the public, and your other responsibility is balancing the budget. So this issue tags both of those, and it's complex. That's why I wanted to get it out from you.
Yeah. And I would echo the concerns here of Jack and Ursula, just in that, and I appreciate Matt making the clarification that, voted funds, there wouldn't be a recommendation to have this apply to voted funds. I'm also mindful that just because a law passed doesn't mean that we should do it. It's an option, but we need to figure out whether or not it makes sense for our district and our the families we serve and the communities we serve. And so I'm mindful of that as well. I don't have any objection to admin looking into this more and seeing what potential opportunities there might be. But, just with how much we have worked with our communities to fund our schools, I want to be very, very careful to respect their voted wishes. And we're obviously all in alignment on that. So that's not news here, but anyway. Go ahead.
Just a really quick question. I know in the last trustee legislator meeting, earlier this year, there was a lot of focus at that time about school funding. Like it is a recognized issue at the state level that there's problems with it. I know we have a long, maybe 2 years before we're back in session again, but are there other bills on that horizon maybe that made progress but didn't quite pass this year that will go through a revision and could be on the docket to solve this again within the next 2 years? I know, Matt, you keep tabs of those. I don't know if you have any information.
Yeah, it's the school funding commission that's looking into this. I think the most credible recommendations and oversight is actually going to come from the Montana Business Officials Association, and it's because when you're talking about changing a funding formula for a state that has a way of operating for decades, and we're flipping that and we're putting more into the quality ed payment for individual teachers. And there's a good rationale, right, for why we're proposing that. It does really change how we manage a school district. As an example, in the last 2 years, I think the AA districts alone have riffed around 250 staff positions between the AA districts. And those happened not because those school districts wanted to cut teachers, they did it to balance budgets. A funding mechanism that is on a per student allocation, when you riff a teacher, you're riffing from the bottom of your salary structure, you're still collecting the revenue from the students that are coming, right? So it's your budget is whole, but you're reducing your expenditures. If we change the funding mechanism to where more money is coming in per teacher on the teacher quality ed payment, and we shift that number to what was proposed and I think published today of $30,000 per teacher. Now we have a salary matrix that our riffing system is going to riff our lowest paid teacher. Let's just put a number in there, 45,000 plus benefits be higher. we're riffing that position, but we're also losing $30,000. Now, there is a total net gain of total funding coming into the district that needs to be calculated in there, and that's why I don't have my mind totally wrapped around it. I'm waiting for the really smart folks to make up the NASBO organization like Chris to sort out all these details. But I do have some initial concerns, just that there's a lot of big changes that we might not understand all of the consequences for, what that looks like beyond year one. At the risk of going too long here, we also are well aware of the STARS Act and the money that came in from the STARS Act with the compliance of closing that gap in 70%, right? The initial stimulus money that came from making that change that's tied to the STARS Act didn't go to the overall operations of a district. It went to making us compliant. And so when we went through the negotiations process, it was really about how do we need to right size, for lack of a better term, our salary matrix to make sure it is compliant with the rules of the STARS Act to be able to get that money. So there's just lots of things to consider where more money doesn't always mean more stability. And I just want to make sure when we're looking at this that we're recognizing what more money means, where that more money goes, but then also projecting long-term stability. So no, the short answer is no. I don't see anything on the horizon that is really clear that says more stability. I see lots of well-intended good ideas that I think are yet to be fully vetted out.
Yeah, and I would just echo that. It seems like with a lot of the things that we see, there's strings attached. And so it might look like a gross bigger number, but there's strings attached such that the outcome is the same product that we're offering, just in a different way. And that's, I think I will say, use this as a plug, to the extent folks are available. And even if you're not, make yourself available next Wednesday at FVCC in the Arts and Technology Building. The School Funding Interim Commission will be here. It's one of 3 listening sessions across the state. There's a 4 to 5:30 time, and there's a 6:30 to 8 time. And because of how lean and mean we have been for so long, we have found creative ways to do things and to try and persevere even without the funding that we have. So this is an opportunity for us to say, listen, these are wonderful things that we're doing, but this is how we've been doing it. And frankly, our legislature and the School Funding Interim Commission needs to step up and give us the funding so we're not constantly, scraping by and trying to, pull things out of thin air. And we just can't continue at that. So, yeah, exactly. Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
So this might be for the business managers, but how many districts have partner districts, and how many of them are just a K-12 that blends the money and uses it as one pot, which is what the legislators probably think about, because a district that has partner districts, they require too much thought for them. Whereas, and that they don't realize, because of the K-12 districts that exist, that they're already using the extra high school money to cover the elementary costs. And so how can you paint the picture of, well, you have these many districts that are blending and subsidizing one, the high school age groups are funding is subsidizing the elementary, whereas in a high school district that has partner districts, you can't do that. Yeah, so how do you paint that picture for the legislators to make them understand that the funding's out of whack?
Yeah, I mean, we're unique. You're spot on, Jack. I mean, we're unique. And I know Chris and Matt have been pounding their chests on this very issue because we are unique. We are different with the number of partner districts we have in the high school district and the elementary district, servicing, different but similar populations, right? And different voters. And I mean, I don't know, Matt, I've heard you and Chris talk about this disparity and all the people you've talked to on the statewide coalition level and all the statewide leaders, and trying to get some traction with this. But I mean, perhaps, our School Funding Interim Commission needs to hear directly from us. next Wednesday on this because we are unique here. So
Yeah, I'd say we're unique. We're unique because of the number of partner districts. So it's not uncommon for districts to have a few partner districts that make up their high school district. But we're very abnormal with 13. It's just, there's no comparison to the AA's for what the structure that we have, mainly the demographic makeup of the geographical makeup, I guess, of the Flathead Valley. Yeah.
So the next question I have is, to what degree did this play an involvement in the separation of East Helena from Helena school districts? Because East Helena is just a K-12 now, isn't it? And I don't know what kind of partner districts are involved with Helena, but I think that, to what degree did that come to play? I know that East Helena had its own personality and they'd been wanting to separate for a long time. But to what degree did that change the funding and help them get a better operational system going?
Yeah, I don't know. I think this might be somewhat naive or hopeful, but I would like to think, and I'm believing this, that the spirit behind this legislation was really for efficiency. And so for efficiency, and I think, if you look at the interlocal agreement in general terms, it does make sense because you have these expenditures in an old system prior to the interlocal agreement where it was the use it or lose it mentality. And there was a lot of wasteful spending, in my opinion, with those types of parameters. If you have an interlocal agreement where you can, be thoughtful stewards of taxpayer funds from one year to the next, combine funds, take care of some bigger projects that fall outside of the typical boundaries of what that budget would do on an annual basis. That's just good stewardship. In the same light, it's recognizing that two districts that can come together and form a interlocal agreement could find some efficiency here. It's complicated for us for all the reasons we've all discussed tonight, but the spirit of it's not wrong. And I don't think it's trying to deceive anybody. It's not trying to deceive taxpayers. It's trying to be efficient and good stewards of taxpayer dollars. The complication for us is navigating the communication side of and the limitations of it. And it's not my intent to put this to bed or anything, but we were just looking for, a healthy discussion, which I think we got, and an opportunity for Chris and I to dig in and maybe put together some recommendations that, address some of the concerns we've heard, and then put some really clear boundaries on what this would mean, and present that at a later date. But sooner rather than later, we both would like to identify a path for moving forward with, budget projections and kind of setting up the finance committee and the negotiations committee, and then it impacts staffing too. So we need to start heading down a track one way or another.
go ahead, Rebecca.
I'm mostly in agreement with what Ursula and Jack have been saying. We all know that we do need to figure out how to fund our elementary in a way that is long-term sustainable. And I think the idea of this is a stopgap is, at least where my head is at in the immediate moment, because of the fear. I mean, I realize it's A and B money, not mill money, but there's still the feeling that we're stealing from Paul to pay Peter. There's still the feeling that I'm taking the high school dollars that were allocated to the high school and giving them to the elementary, and that is problematical, or at least it's something I need to think through. I don't yet know how it's not problematic. I mean, I kind of do, but the way this is all coming about is because of the funding formula. So my biggest question here is about strategy. And I know, Jack doesn't believe in strategy, but I agreed with you 90% of the time today. So that's a record, I think.
I understand strategy.
No, you just don't always think that it's the way to think. But if our ultimate goal is that we want the state to regularize for every teacher minute per student at an elementary level, it's the same as, or at least not less than, the high school. We think that that's a reasonable thing. That's our fundamental biggest goal, is that we've got to regularize them, saying that we're going to pay you 1/3 as much for an elementary student's teacher time as high school's teacher time. Because let's face it, our elementary teachers might even need more time than that.
So will our blending the district financially make that essential disparity not as obvious or seem like, oh, we've solved the problem, so you don't have to solve it? I'm worried that this will have a long-term effect on our ultimate goal, because I think our ultimate goal really needs to stay focused on, we need to get the state to, and is in our finding a way to deal with it, are we saying, hey, there's no problem here? Anyway, that's my thoughts. It may not be how everyone else is thinking, but I think
No, I think you're right. The disparity is something that needs to be addressed at the state level. And to the extent they give us a tool that doesn't expand the pie, but allows us to slosh it around within it, it still doesn't affect the disparity in the service we're able to provide.
Right.
So you're right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're just sloshing it around. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
that's basically what they're
that's-
saying. You can slosh it around.
That's how I understand.
That's not.
Are we wrong with the idea
But,
that we'll go sloshing
but again, like
around?
I say, just because there's a law that was passed doesn't mean we have to utilize it. But I do think we need to better understand it, and it also offers an opportunity for self-reflection on how we are allocating fixed costs that are borne by both the elementary and the high school districts. But how we are we fairly allocating those costs to each district? I think maybe that's the question that, this bill, well, whether or not we use it or not, it does bring up that question. So,
But we may need to short term. I mean, the other part of it is if,
let's see. And then Chris, can you tell us, so Rebecca, you mentioned that historically, yes, we've the elementary district has been supportive of funding our schools. And I agree with that. Chris, can you tell me what amount are we below 100% at our elementary funding level?
About 30 seconds max.
Because we basically brought our high school up to 100%, but our elementary is not.
So with all the legislation that passed this year, neither are going to be near 100% now. The reason is because the max budget without a vote increased because of the STARS Act and a few other bills. Both have room. I get so nervous when everybody's looking at me.
You said you had 30 seconds.
Yeah, I know, but now.
You said you're shortening up your time.
So 25. I know. Okay, well, about still 96 on the high school side. That translates though into about $800,000.
So wait, on the what side?
I'm sorry, on the elementary side.
It's 800,000 on the elementary side?
Yeah.
They're both at 96% or?
No, that's just the elementary. And then, did you want high school? Or-
Sure, although I'd like to think that we're after the last lift.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Sorry. So yeah, high school is about the same, 97.
It's also 800.
Oh, no, it would be, it'd be 30. Sorry, give me. Yeah, it actually is. It's just over 800. Yeah.
All right, any other comment or discussion on our elementary and high school district budget? budget discrepancies. This was informational only. I believe Matt and Chris will be seeing what this might actually mean or look like, but depending on that, then coming back to us with further information. Anything else? Okay, moving on. Next agenda item, natural gas contract renewal action item, and this is Chris.
So moved. And Chris, I just want to point out, Jeff has stayed in the room to get your interpretation of and your analysis of a decatherm.
Decatherm?
Yep.
I know it. Do you know it?
So I died for lack of a second.
Sorry, Jeff.
So go ahead, and just because it's an action item, it's just a brief presentation.
Yeah, so I think so this is just a preliminary price. I just got the quote in rate before this meeting, the actual quote. This was a quote from about a week ago. They lock a futures contract in, which they only do just a matter of hours before they actually and it's only good for 48 hours. But it'll be right in this range. It is up by, if usage stays the same, about $32,000. However, based on the spot price of natural gas, which is the spot price, that's a really reasonable. Our rate did not increase with the same trajectory as the spot price, so pretty happy with this.
Okay, great.
Quote.
Rates have come down since in the last couple of months, so that's good.
Is there a motion to approve the renewal of the natural gas purchase agreement with Commercial Energy of Montana?
Somebody else has to do it. Well,
All right, thanks, Will.
I'll second it.
All right, second by Ursula. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, question, comments, or information about what a decatherm is? Hearing none. Public comment? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it passes. Consent agenda, elementary action. Everyone's had a chance to review that. Is there a motion to approve the elementary only consent agenda as presented? So moved. Thanks, Ursula. Second? Second, Heidi. Thank you. Elementary only. Are we discussing consent agendas?
You're right.
It's the board chair's discretion.
May I ask us a quick question?
Yes, you may ask a quick question.
May I ask
Yes.
a quick question?
Yes.
Just because we're new to our policies and how we're going about cutting out of district, I just wanted to get a brief moment to say how it's going with cutting out of district student services. Higher than usual, lower than usual, looking weird, looking strange, just probably going on.
So Rebecca, are you talking about?
Are we
Because
having?
most of the elementary
Yeah.
agenda is about at-risk students.
Yeah. So a couple years ago, what Rebecca was referring to, I think, is a couple years ago we have student discretion on district of choice enrollment in Montana, and we've just been watching the numbers go back and forth. To my knowledge, it's still pretty even with the number of students coming in versus the number of students going out.
And not a big change as well.
And not a big change. I think at some point we could probably show a financial update on, costs shared between our district or costs to our district and then costs coming in or revenue coming in from others. But the last time we looked into this, it just wasn't worth the effort, frankly. I think it was a legislative thing, but it's just not, it's generating a lot of paperwork and really not a lot of revenue or either way. So
We had a big change in administrative oversight.
Yeah.
But not a lot of change in. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
All right, any further question or discussion? All right, hearing none, elementary only, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Consent agenda, district-wide. Can I get a motion to approve district-wide consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Rebecca. Second? Second, thank you, Linda. Any further question or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay, not hearing any. Okay, great. Unanimous trustee reports, informational only. Let's move from the end down. Here we go. Rebecca, you're up first.
No report. No report.
Jack.
Nothing to report. Nothing. I enjoyed myself at the fair and got to see how that all worked with the with the animals on the livestock auction. That was exciting. And then also, good news, Kalispell Education Foundation is at $176,000. If you have not, as a board, donate to that, please do so. Were you gonna, did I steal your thunder?
No, you didn't. While we were
Super.
sitting here, I sent everyone an email reminding them we shoot for 100% participation with donations from the board to the Kalispell Education Foundation. So any amount of money counts as 100% participation. I sent everyone the link, so it's super easy to do. Anyway, any further report? So, okay, great. My report is only, seriously, guys, to the extent we can make that school funding interim commission next Wednesday, we need to. I'm actually down in Polson for a work conference all week, but I'm probably going to drive back that Wednesday right after to make one of those. So, and then head back down to Polson because it's a 3-day work conference. So anyway, please make it happen. Next on the agenda, we have our administrative reports. Let's see here. I might just work down the line again. Is that okay? Okay, yeah. Let's go ahead. Go ahead. Administrative reports. Go. None? No further? Okay, see, that was quick.
That was quick.
Good. Okay, Sarah?
Mine's super fast. Starter school is awesome. I'll save specific examples for my next board update. And the only other thing is you guys had approved a potential need for an additional FTE K-5. We watched numbers closely. We had a teeny bit of a dip. We're still sitting at 94% capacity, but low 94. And so we won't be posting that position. Yeah. Kids are doing great. Teachers are doing great.
Great, thanks. Principal Pete?
Nothing to report.
Asu Pete? Nothing to report? Matt, go ahead.
Nothing to report.
Okay, great. Can I get, we have upcoming board meetings Tuesday, September 23rd, 6 to 8. Your much more expeditious board chair, Scott Warnell, will be back for that one. And then we have a governance committee meeting September 16th from 8 to 10. And with that, is our motion to...
Can I take it back?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is good. We posted 2 intern positions that we're advertising for high school students. So we're super excited about bringing those on, one in the communications department, one in central office, working with Pete, Sarah, and I. And we anticipate more student internship experiences, and these will be coming from transformational funds or funds outside of the general budget. But just really excited, how that's spread in our community, and we want a piece of it. So we're adding student interns to KPS.
Great. Super. Okay. Thank you. With that, is there a motion to adjourn? Ursula gets it first. Second. Heidi, great. Any discussion, comment? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, nay, none. All right, thank you.